Hey there, I'm Ashley Banks, and you're watching The Ashley Banks Show. Today, I want to share my interview with actress Victoria Rowell. Let's get started.
Earlier this week, Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, said the Democratic Republican elite cheated their way into a system built for them.
I recently interviewed Victoria Rowell, who is best known for her role as Drusilla Winters on The Young and the Restless. Victoria and I discuss her journey navigating through Hollywood as a Black female. Take a look. What piqued your interest about media in the arts, acting, movies, TV? Like, what piqued your interest?
Well, I was just born with it. I think we're all born with, a creativeness in us. And yeah, it gets chipped away, I think, with life unless you foster it and protect it. I've always loved to dance and to sing and perform. I used to put on these little shows in our woodshed in Maine. Like we had a big woodshed attached to the house on the farm. Oops. So I'm always, I've always just stayed in that space. And I think children are incredible inventors because they understand fantasy so purely, and creating. So anyway, I've just always been inspired by nature and other creative people. It's so important to do as much as you can in the industry so that you can really understand the machinations of how it all works. So, so the short answer is I've always been interested in every direction, from the lenses of a camera to how you make a hat with a milliner. I've had the opportunity some years ago to really dive into writing more. I started in the 90s and I've just then I got into the book business with HarperCollins and then Simon and Schuster, with The Women Who Raised Me, and then my soap book series, Secrets of a Soap Opera Diva. And then I created a show. I've been writing scripts for a while, and I want to encourage our listeners to continue to mine your content. You may not have a deal right now, but being ready is so much a part of the journey, because the last thing you want is you finally get your opportunity to step up to the bat and then they say, okay, well, what do you have? And you're like, oh, I have this idea. No, wrong answer. I have a script. I have the outline. I have the deck. And I have some folks that are really interested in being attached to this project.
Let's talk about why it's important for Black women to hold these roles, to control the narrative, to tell our stories. Because not everyone can tell our stories, right? If they haven't lived it, they don't know that life. So, can you just talk to why you believe it's important that you've held some of these roles?
It's so important, as you say, to hold the narrative, to tell the story because no one else knows our story. No one else knows our history. And in that, right now, we're teaching the history of America is so politicized, where it's race theory is um, eclipsing the idea of teaching all of our history is not even in the books as it is. But what is there is it suggested that it not be taught. And I'm talking the whole history from first people, indigenous people, to, the incarceration of the Japanese in internment camps, to our history as Black people. So it's very important that we hold the narrative. It's very important that we tell the stories and be able to produce them and be a part of the economic inclusion, not only to tell the story, not only to sell the script, but if you're the writer, that you also get an executive producer credit or a producer credit, that you grow exponentially in the business, not just a one-stop, one-shot opportunity, that you be brought into the fold in a bigger, more expansive way. And in terms of the directing, of course, and the casting, that's all important. We are many who can write the stories. If you look at the recent Hollywood Reporter cover of Black divas in Hollywood who have been working for so long at the craft, from Shirley Ralph to Lynn Whitfield. It's a fabulous cover. And it really shows a, an expansive way of how to express how so many of us as Black women have been here. And that's not taking anything away from Lupita or, or anyone, Viola, anybody. But there are many of us who have been working for many years to hold the narrative, to get into the rooms, to be a Shonda Rhimes.
You just talk to the challenges you face. That way, those who are watching this in the future will anticipate maybe facing some of the same challenges or know how to navigate through them.
I have many anecdotal stories. I think one of I remember having a meeting with a big executive for a big movie, a big studio movie. And you have what's called chemistry meetings to see if there's chemistry. And the executive was also starring in the movie. And as we had the conversation, sometimes you can be cast based on a chemistry meeting. Like when I auditioned for Distinguished Gentleman opposite Eddie Murphy, I had to audition, but then you had the chemistry meeting, and the chemistry was just natural and funny. And I'm a comedian first. So it felt good. And Eddie's so cool. And so that was great. But in a separate meeting in another circumstance, I went for the chemistry meeting. And during the course of the meeting, he said, oh my goodness, we have more in common than your character and me. And that was, we talked about arts and family and all kinds of things, but he was so shocked that I, as a Black woman, could have things in common with him. And, it is a navigation for us, to demonstrate grace under fire. And I didn't get the part. He didn't feel I was Black enough. And he told me so. So you just have to take experiences that you have and disseminate information and experience and work it to a higher good.
First, let me know, when was the moment that you realized you had arrived and that you were who you are today? And just a little anecdote about that.
Oh my goodness. That's such a big question. I remember my first class air ticket. That was like, oh my God, how did I get off the farm in Maine, out of the hood in Roxbury? Oh, I'm in first class. What is this world? So it's a fun perspective that I never want to forget, that I was flown to Hollywood to test. And I had a baby girl on my hip. And I was living in a Udio in Manhattan. Udio it's not a studio. It's smaller than a studio, right? So I was living in the Udio. I had a baby that was under a year old, and my daughter Maya, and it was like incredible, that whole experience of that. It was a whole other world if you were in a position to possibly clinch a series regular on a show, or a recurring network role, or a feature film. And, for everyone, it's different, right? The stakes are different for everyone. Everything could ride on that. Or maybe it's just another job for someone else. But it was an arrival moment for me, and it's different for everybody. But it was like, whether I got the part or not, it was my first class experience. That was fun. It was good.
Be sure to follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Ashlee M. Banks. If you enjoyed today's show and would like to support, feel free to send your donation via Zelle, Cash App, Venmo, or PayPal. No amount is too small, and whatever you donate will go towards expanding the show. I thank you in advance for your donation and for watching. I'll catch you next time.